Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. We'll get to Craig and Stacy Schroeder here in just a moment with Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook or fightwithflash.org. Tough week this week. We're going to talk to James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback. Okay, I'm past it. Hawkeyes lose a tough one. No Big Ten West championship for them this year, losing 24-17 to Nebraska Cornhuskers. That's all we'll say for now. Moving forward, we'll find out what bowl game the Hawks will be going to, and we'll talk to James about that, James Vandenberg. And then after James Vandenberg, James Moses, the James gang again today. James, former Hawkeye basketball, playing great, and we'll look forward to talking to James Moses and get his assessment of the Hawks so far this year and what's ahead of them. And we'll close out the show with Jett Beachum. Fox 28, CBS 2, Iowa News Now, sports anchor Jett Beachum will be joining us. So, as I exhale and say, okay, we're not talking Hawkeyes, but I will say this. Viewers, you know this. What a job, Craig joined me, what a job Stacy did this year. Your picks were far better, and if I can speak for Craig, and I know I can, far better than Craig and I would have done. So kudos to you.
Oh, you're funny.
Great job. Truthfully, that turned out as well as I thought it would because you kind of took the heat off Craig and I. People saying, oh, you're Hawkeye honks, and of course you picked the Hawkeyes. And your scores were pretty much in line, but your attitude and the way you delivered it, it wasn't just the usual two old dudes talking about the Hawks. So good for you, and thank you for that. You nailed it.
My goodness.
Oh, yes, you nailed it. Oh, she's blushing. I got it, finally. So, Craig, that's why I said I'll save it for the air. Gotcha, Stace. But thank you. So, Craig, so many cool things besides that to talk about with Fight with Flash. My goodness, the garage sale, what numbers off the charts. And I got to thank you, viewers, as well, for those of you that participated. But obviously, thanks to you, Craig and Stacy, and the foundation. But give us the good news, my friend.
It was actually our best garage sale event ever. So it was great. We actually raised $3,300 just a few hours of selling some Flash merch, which was great. So and it's been crazy the last week and a half for us. We got a check from Liberty High Difference Makers for $7,000. We went to an event and received a grant from the Community Foundation of Johnson County for $1,000. And then also SFM, one of the insurance companies that we represent here at Reliant Insurance, had some money that they wanted to do charitable donation, and $4,022 came to us from SFM.
That's awesome.
So it's been a busy week. We've had a lot of counting to do, which is good. So.
And Craig and Stacy, say it with me. Today is Giving Tuesday, as we record this on Tuesday, as we do every Tuesday afternoon usually, November 29th. But we'll get into that next, or in a couple of weeks when you guys come back. They're leaving us for next week. Craig and Stacy off to New York for the Big Ten or Iowa versus Duke at Madison Square Garden. So enjoy your time with that. You'll be seeing Dick Vitale. So excited to hear all about that when you return. So Stace, Craig, thanks for that great report. And Stace, you got some pretty cool stuff. So now we have a face and a name behind the earrings and some of the cool jewelry. So talk about Giving Tuesday today with a partner you have today.
Yes. Oh, this nice woman, Charlie Dean Designs, has put together some earrings for us, some Fight with Flash earrings. She's also doing Win the Day earrings that people can purchase. But everything is for the Giving Tuesday. So all of the money, all the jewelry that she sells today will go to our foundation, which is amazing and so kind. And so, yeah, we love it.
Awesome stuff. Look forward to seeing you folks in a couple of weeks. Safe travels to New York, and bring home a Hawkeye victory for us over Duke, would you please?
Will do.
Yeah.
All right. For Craig and Stacy, I'm Dave O'Hara. They're Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook or fightwithflash.org. Back with more Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, and James Vandenberg, and then James Moses and Jett Beachum. Back with more in just a few moments. Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. There's our buddy James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback and doing very well now with RBC Wealth Management Group and CorridorInvestmentGroup.com. So James, hopefully you and your family had a great Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Got plenty to eat. Let's get to the tough news. Iowa Hawkeyes lose against Nebraska 24-17 to go to the Big Ten West title and go to the Big Ten championship game against Michigan. So, James, a couple of things I kept hearing from the broadcasters on Fox National or Big Ten Network National TV. This team can't come back. This Iowa team's not set up to come back. And they're down 24-0. James, not only did they come back, they had 3 or 4 opportunities to tie and win the game. The Hawks brought it back after being down 24-0 to 24-17. Yes, I know there were key injuries. Spencer Petras being one. Cooper DeJean going down not just from the defensive backfield, James, but also from punt return, punt coverage, kick return, kick coverage. 2 huge losses. Nebraska plays with injuries. Guys are out. James, you know this. From the first time the foot meets the ball for first game, you're playing injured the whole year. So let's talk about this game a little bit from your perspective, please, James.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those had impacts on the game, but I don't think anybody who actually knows this team and knows the program is going to say, wow, if we just would have had this guy, that was the difference. I mean, ultimately, we made too many mistakes. We just made too many mistakes on every side of the ball. And we kind of lost in a way that we normally cause other teams to lose. And it was too much to overcome. But saying, oh, man, if Petrus is in there, we win that game, or DeJean, though we never have any of those touchdowns. I mean, let's give some credit to Nebraska. Their offense didn't necessarily look like a 3-9 team or 3-7 team, whatever they were coming in, 3-8 team. They played well enough to win, and we did too much wrong to overcome. And I think you see that, you're going to see that as they watch the film in every phase. And it's easy to see it on defense or if we miss blocks on offense, but it was all 3 phases. We made enough mistakes that we couldn't overcome it.
You know, James, great points. And also to your other point, you've been saying this all year, that these are not starters for a reason. And some days you just run out of daylight.
Well, this goes back to the age-old thing of people thinking that, oh, you just change this guy out and clearly anybody that's behind him would be better. And listen, you should trust the coaching staff. You should trust what they see. You should trust what they evaluate. In no way, shape am I saying that Padilla lost this game, because I really don't think he did, and I can't believe people are even saying that. Right. We lost the game in all 3 phases. So, but I trust the coaching staff to have the game plan and to know who should be on the field. I've trusted that ever since I was there. I'm assuming they still do things the right way. So, yeah, obviously there was a great opportunity with the Big Ten championship. Nobody is not aware of that, but it's just a game where we made mistakes, and I do think Nebraska deserves a little credit because they made enough plays to win the game.
So, James, as a player, former player, you lose a tough game like this, and you know what it's like to go bowling as a player. Let's talk about that positive experience, all the extra practice time it gives the team and Coach Ferentz. Let's get back to the positive and talk about what your experience was and what these guys are going to be going through for bowl prep, please.
Well, yeah, I think there's two parts of it. Is one, if you're a senior or this is your last year, I mean, you're soaking up every second, whether it's drills, time in the locker rooms. There's a lot of good players that have contributed a lot to the program that are kind of going through that now for the last month, let's call it. If you're not a senior, this is developmental time. I mean, there's spring ball, there's camp, and then there's bowl prep. And it means the workload's going to go way up. And if you're an underclassman, you're going to get a ton of reps. There's going to be a lot of physicalness. And it's a great time to grow. It's a great opportunity to kind of set the foundation for next spring ball, which then leads into next camp. So, it's kind of 2 different things for depending on where you're at in the program. But certainly going to a bowl game, I mean, how many people wrote us off or wrote everybody off 5-6 weeks ago? And yeah, did we come back and make it to the Big Ten title game? No, we did come up short there, but we just need to all be proud of what this team did with a lot of adversity. I mean, a lot of noise, and yeah, they could have capped it off and beating by Nebraska and then going and upsetting Michigan. But I think we should all be pretty proud about how they reacted in not ideal circumstances.
I think that's so well stated. So, James, I'm going to talk in the following segment. We're going to talk basketball next. I'm former Hawkeye great James Moses, but then Jett Beachum and I, Jett of Iowa News Now and Fox 28, CBS 2 Sports. We're going to talk a little bit about some possibilities of guys coming back. Kenny Smith and I from the Des Moines Register talked last week about guys who can come back for that 5th year. And, the Senior Bowl invites went out yesterday. So you and I will catch up in the next couple of weeks once we have our bowls set and we can talk a little bowl prep. Parker Hesse going to join me next week. So he's got the whole show during his bye week for the Atlanta Falcons. So, James, I look forward to catching up with you in a couple of weeks. And as always, we are going to have much to discuss, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good day.
You too now. For James Vandenberg, I'm Dave O'Hara on Hawkeye. Back with more in just a few moments.
To have a strong finish, you need an excellent start. It's true on the track and also in the field. That's why Merschman Seeds works tirelessly to deliver cutting-edge technology year after year. Introducing Starting Line, Merschman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, now providing added protection from white mold and sudden death syndrome all season. Ask for Starting Line seed treatment from Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we are participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Make next harvest your best harvest with Merschman Seeds. First, our connection to MS Technologies makes us an industry leader for Enlist E3 soybean genetics. Second, Starting Line seed treatment, our most advanced seed treatment, comes standard with added protection against both sudden death syndrome and white mold. Third, upgrade with Saltro and Trunemco for maximum protection against sudden death syndrome and soybean cyst nematodes. There's only one leader in soybean technology, Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. You can see our guy right there. We've had him on. We've had him at spring training in Florida last year, all over the map. We catch him at home today. James Moses, former Hawkeye basketball, playing great, late 80s, early 90s. The great experience he brings from the Tom Davis days. And I'll tell you, coaching basketball now with the youth and has been in the Department of Corrections for 25 plus years in the state of Iowa. So stayed here. LA kid, native. Tom Davis brought him here. James probably thought, what in the world am I doing here? He's still here, married with kids. James, it's always a shot in the arm to see your smiling face, and I know that you had a great Thanksgiving with your family and you. So thanks for joining us as always, and I talked to you off the air, and I want to bring this on the air with you. I mentioned to you the similarities of this year's team, Hawkeye men's team specifically, but even some last year, similarities of an old Tom Davis team from back in your days, and you said there were some similarities, but why don't you get into what you were talking about off the air, please, and bring it on the air of how there are some similarities with some things you'd like to see, James.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you having me on again and talking with you about some of the similarities. I was saying I like the press that Coach McCaffrey has, but would love to see some full court press like 55. Where Coach Davis, we would have like a Chris Street or Matt Bullard or even, sometimes Les Jepson up on the ball to create the deflection. And you could have like a Chris Murray even that could play that 4 position. But having like a Tyler Eulis that used to play like a BJ position or a Troy Skinner or a Brian Garner. Or having like Tony Perkins, since he's so good with his instincts and anticipation, you can have him at the 2 or 3 spot. Basically you're forming a diamond with Patrick up front or Chris up front, or Chris off on one of the wings with Tyler Eulis or Peyton Sanford off to the left side, and then having like a Eulis or Tony Perkins, kind of like at that diamond top position, with having someone who is good at defending the ball, but having them back to be like not necessarily the AC Earl, because I don't think you have a shot blocker such as he was for the Big Ten during his time and era, but you do foster around some of the similarities that would be pretty nice to see.
But my, oh my, James, when this team gets the ball off the glass and that ball doesn't touch the floor, everybody's athletic, offensive, they get the boards, but you got to rebound and play defense before you can get on the break, as you know better than anybody, James.
Yeah, they do a great job of, utilizing everyone where the ball, it doesn't have just one individual. It has multiple individuals. So when you see that ball sharing from multiple players, even from your bench, it's just really nice to see. The things that they accent that we have is definitely the length. the athleticism. But, when you have like someone like a Ed Horton, a Les Jepson, AC Earl, that, even, Russ Millard and, just some of those players that have played up under Davis. Chris Street was a number one. You had the double-double.
Yep.
And, right now they have the potential, but they don't have that, former NBA, former player that they had last year that's in the NBA with the Kings now, Keegan Murray, who was their double-double and very reliable in every game or almost every game that he played, with the exception of a couple. So when you see the potential, that's exciting. But you kind of saw a little bit where they have to get better at when they played, against Clemson, a tight finish and stuff. But also they were exposed a little bit with TCU, and that's part of playing these type of games early so that they can get into what we call the scientific room, the study room, so that they can work on some of those things in preparation for their game coming up against Georgia Tech tonight, as well as preparation for the Big Ten.
So, James, you nailed it right there, and that's exactly, we'll close on that, which is we record this show as we do usually every Tuesday afternoon tonight, Georgia Tech at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Not as strong as Georgia Tech used to be in the past, but still an ACC Power 5 team and school. But we're going to find out real quick, James, in the next couple of weeks, in New York City against Duke, and then at home against Iowa State, who all of a sudden have become world beaters with Coucher from last year and Grill and the rest of some incoming transfer portal guys that are playing very well. And so Iowa State game upcoming. Wisconsin at home, a Big Ten game early, in December before the end of the year. So we're going to find out real quick what this Hawkeye team is made of. James Moses, former Hawkeye basketball, playing great again in the late 80s, early 90s. James, again, great seeing you. We're going to catch up with you after the first of the year. Thanks so much, and hello to the family from me, and thanks again, James.
Dave, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and hey, we look forward to seeing how our Hawkeyes will blossom in preparation for the Big Ten season.
Absolutely. Thanks again, James. For James Moses, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. We'll close out the show with Jett Beachum from Fox 28 Sports Anchor in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair, upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Who do you trust to produce the best deal? A seat company that's chasing technology or a seat company that's writing a book on it? Merschman Seeds is a leader in technology. We're independent and family owned. Our sister company, MS Technologies, provides access to world-class traits and genetics. And our starting line seed treatment is second to none. Who can you trust with your yields? Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Here's our buddy Jett Beachum. Jett, good seeing you, man.
Good seeing you too, Dave.
Jett Beachum of Fox 28, our company that carries us here, one of the Sinclair stations throughout Iowa, but also Jett with Iowa News Now and CBS 2. So, Jett, I exhale with chuckle. What a loss. We talked about it with James Vandenberg to Nebraska. But let's you and I talk about some good notes, some cool things. Yeah. It's Tuesday afternoon. We record this on every Tuesday afternoon usually. Today, November 29th, Big Ten postseason award came out for football. We got some defensive players on the first team we thought we would. The rest of the awards are coming out later this week. We'll talk about that in the future. Let's talk about it a little bit. Three guys made the first team, which was Riley Moss, we expect, Jack Campbell, we expect, and Cooper DeJean. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, and Jack Campbell, again, preseason Big Ten Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, ends up winning the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think that's any surprise to any Hawkeye fans, especially with what he did, even in Minnesota, just to keep that game alive. Because that was really, Indy wouldn't have been a possibility without his play going into the Nebraska game. Obviously, we saw Cooper DeJean, was a backup technically at both the cash and corner positions coming into the year. And the guy turns into a first-team All-Big Ten player. Yeah. And what he's going to be, down the road is just fantastic. Not only on defense, but special teams, just fantastic. And Riley Moss, again, last year's Big Ten Cornerback of the Year. pretty much does it again. First team all Big Ten.
Yeah.
No really surprise again the way that they're locking down. A lot of people stayed away from Riley this year. Hey, defensive back you.
The numbers don't lie, right?
No.
Not just tight end you. You're right. Defensive back you. So let's talk about some guys who can come back. You did a great job reporting on your newscast recently. 4 seniors are going to the Senior Bowl. We know Riley Moss can't come back.
Yes.
But Sam Laporta can. Jack Campbell can.
Yes.
And Meriwether can.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them probably will.
We're reaching that point where it's, can they get any better?
Yeah.
As far as draft stock, they can't. This is like, go out on a high note, do what's best for your future.
Jett, let's you and I talk then. Men's basketball, we're going to be at the Georgia Tech game tonight. A lot of coverage. Going to be a national prominence game. Not the power that they used to be back in the day, but part of the end of an era of the Big Ten ACC Challenge after 23 years. Because of TV rights and such, this is going to be it for Iowa, at least in the near future. This is it for Iowa in the Big Ten ACC Challenge.
Yeah, again, Georgia Tech's not Virginia. It's not,
Correct.
UNC.
Not Duke.
Not, these teams that we've seen in the past 3 years that have been exciting powerhouses. But again, Georgia Tech's still an ACC program, still a Power 5 program, so it's not a team to shy away from. And you still take stock in the Hawkeyes playing well against a team like this. But it is nice to, it's sad to see the Big Ten ACC Challenge go. Again, this was the longest-standing interconference rivalry for 23 years. It's ending because, as you mentioned, TV rights deals, ESPN, Big Ten, we don't know what's going on with that. So, of course, now they're replacing the Big Ten with the SEC, which does have a TV deal.
Right.
So you get it. You understand.
Well, whenever anybody says to you, folks, it's not about the money, guess what the one thing it's always about? The money. But Iowa will play Duke next week in New York for the Jimmy V fight, Coaches versus Cancer. It's not part of the Big Ten ACC Challenge, although it is a Big Ten team in Iowa and an ACC team in Duke, not part of that. So, Jett, we've talked football, men's basketball. We got to talk Brands boys, Hawkeye wrestling. Number 2 right now in the country, soon to be number 1. But you and I have talked about this off the air. We know Big Ten finals are going to be probably Penn State, Iowa. Throw Michigan in there again. Same with nationals.
Yeah.
But Hawkeyes, to Terry Brands' concern, they've got to find a lineup. And once Spencer Lee gets back, they don't want to rush him back too quickly. But my goodness, if you're wrestling Tony Cassiopeia, why don't you just walk on the mat, lay on your back, and pin you? Because he's going to get there anyway. Yeah. What a year he's having so far.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, and he's one of those guys that, he's a familiar face. And I think that's something that the Hawkeyes have, dealt with. A lot of people, they have a largely new roster. Look at the last 3 years when, again, they were number 1 in the COVID year, didn't win the national championship because of COVID. Then they won the title. Then last year they were ranked, I believe, number 1 going into the season again.
Yes.
It's because they had so many guys that we're used to seeing. And
Marinelli was there.
Marinelli, Kimmerer. Last year, Ironman. The last 2 years it was Ironman. They had all these guys. DeSanto, again, we can name them off. They just don't have them. Cassiopeia's definitely one of those guys. Again, had a great year last year. Obviously, on the world circuit, does fantastic stuff as well for Team USA. He's been fantastic.
So let's close out with talking Bluter's Bunch. We've talked football, men's basketball, wrestling. We'll be talking women's wrestling next year, too. They're wrestling, unaffiliated or not as a team, but the women will be wrestling officially next year as a team at the University of Iowa, so that's pretty cool. But let's talk. So then we've got to delineate men's wrestling, women's wrestling. So now we'll say women's basketball and Bluter's Bunch. Another tough loss, although number 3, UConn on national TV. I'm not into moral victories, but that was a great game down the stretch. Hawks lost a close one after losing, a close one a couple of weeks ago at K-State. They're not dodging anybody. And like you said to me off the air, let's bring it on the air. They are going to be playing some more tough teams. So, they're slipping a little bit in the national rankings. But if you don't think that's not a top 10 team, as it all shakes out, or top 20 for sure, I heard ESPN say the other night, and a bunch of other national folks, boy, we certainly want to see UConn and Iowa at the end of the year. How much fun that'll be.
Yeah, well, the thing is, UConn's still UConn. Just because they haven't
without
been winning,
Paige Beckers.
Just because they haven't been winning the national championships, every single year that we've seen in the past 2 years, it's still UConn. And so they still have a fantastic team. So it's you have to look at the positives of that game. Again, Iowa led at the half, led going into the fourth quarter, led by 5 in the fourth quarter at one point, and just I guess whether it was running out of gas, they just don't have the depth that UConn has, and I think that's something that maybe they're dealing with right now. You lose Feuerbach obviously in the off season, and there's still some people coming back from injury, some new pieces, Molly Davis, et cetera, that they're trying to figure out, and you also have a promising freshman class as well. So you're still trying to find these pieces. Again, you're going to learn a lot about Iowa over these next 3 games. You have NC State, the Big Ten ACC Challenge, to finish on the women's side. Big Ten matchup versus Wisconsin, and then, of course, the Cy-Hawk game versus Iowa State.
Yeah.
And so you have, in between that, you have a Big Ten game, and you have two games against 2 top 12 opponents. And you've already faced, the number 3 team in the country.
Yeah.
And so we're going to learn a lot about this team. Again, at the end of the day, it's Big Ten's what matters, but you want to get these 2 wins and show that at least you can compete still with those top 10 teams.
Jett, we could go on, and I don't want to be greedy with your time, but great coverage as always, my friend. Great to see you.
Of course.
He is Jett Beachum from Fox 28, CBS 2, and Iowa News Now. I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. Thanks also to James Vandenberg and James Moses and my good buddy Michael Merrick behind the camera. So for Hawkeye, that's all for me. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guests and to you, the